Hi, this is Ali Arango of ArangoDigitalProduction.com, and today I want to show you how to auto animate 2D hair inside of Blender. So let's get started. Okay, I wanted to try to make this a little bit quicker than my usual tutorial. So here we are here in Gimp, and what I've done is here is an awesome drawing by Ludo Lullaby, another one of my favorite artists. And basically what I've done is I've separated this image from the background here, and then another thing I did was I took the hair and I separated the hair from this image. But here's the hair layer here, so when I turn this off, you can see that I still left hair there. So I didn't cut it. I basically copied it, put it on another layer. So to do this auto animate hair effect, basically what we're going to need is this image here, or whatever image that you want to use of hair. So you want to have the image with the hair, and then you want to have a separate image that's basically the hair by itself. And the one thing that I did do here is, if you look right here, see this piece of hair right here, I did take that off to have the hair have more of an effect as an animate. So when I turn this hair layer on, you can see that one piece. So yeah, something like that. Or it might even, if you're using a similar drawing, you might want to take this piece of hair and replace that. But basically what you need again is this, the character and the hair, and then a separate layer with the hair like that. And to get these two images out for use for animating inside of Blender, what you want to do is you want to have just the one layer showing. So here's my main layer. So I'm going to go to File, Export. You're going to make sure that it is a PNG file. All right. And actually, make sure you know where your file is going to. And then you're just going to export this out as a PNG. Make sure you take off the save background color, because you want to have the background be this transparent background here. Then you would just take your other layer, same thing, go to File, Export. You want to make sure this is a PNG. A PNG will have that transparent background. If you have it an image and you export it as a JPEG, it's not going to have the transparent image. It's not going to give you what you want. But basically, because this is the same layer, you can see this is the same project inside of Gimp. It has the same name as, this layer has the same name as the layer with the just the girl. So you just change your name. I'll name this hair, and then do just like I did before. Hit export. Make sure save background colors out, and then now with that you should have your two files. Your separated hair and then your image of the girl. All right, let's go into Blender. Okay, here we are in Blender, and if this is your first time in Blender, I recommend you go to File, User Preferences, go to Input, and then choose Select with Left. Blender's default select is with right, and this may confuse you if you're coming from programs like Gimp, Photoshop, or other 3D programs. Also, if you happen to be working through this tutorial on a laptop, typically I'll refer to the number keys on the regular keyboard all the way to the right. If you put a check mark right here where it says Emulate Numpad, what this will do is this will make it so that the keys on the top of your laptop will act like the keys that are on a full keyboard to the right. Oop, I forgot something. Okay, let's go back. File, User Preferences. Back inside of User Preferences for this tutorial, there is one thing you're going to need if you don't have it already set up, and what that is, you're going to have to go to Add-ons. You're going to scroll down in Add-ons, and you're just going to make sure that you have import this right here. Import images as planes. You just want to make sure you have a check mark right here. Okay, what you're going to do now is you're going to select this cube. You're going to hit X to delete the cube. Select delete. Now what you're going to do is you're going to select File, Import, and then you're going to go to Images as Planes. Now you will see this option as long as you did the step that I showed you in the beginning, where we went to File, User Preferences, Add-on, and you put a check mark in Images as Planes. As long as you did that, you'll see this. If by some chance you're not seeing it say Images as Planes, just go back to the beginning of the video and go through that step and you'll see this. If you did do that step and you see it, just click Images as Planes. All right, now you're going to go to your folder where you have the PNGs that we exported from Gimp or Photoshop, whatever image manipulation program you want to use. If you select this button, you'll actually be able to see your images. So we'll bring in the girl first. You'll select her. Before going to import images as planes, which actually brings it in, you're going to go over and make sure that you have shadeless clicked, or check mark in shadeless, a check mark in use alpha. You want to make sure that you have Z transparency selected, a check mark in receive transparent shadows, and also have DPI selected. With all these options selected that I just said, with all the check marks, your check marks should be just like how I have set up here. Now you're going to go and select import images as planes. You're going to go right over here. You're going to take your mouse. I'm just going to pull this down on my screen. Here's the images. Here's the image that came as a plane, just listed as plane here. So what we're going to do now is you're going to hit N on your you're going to hit your N on your keyboard, and you'll see this menu pop up. When this menu pops up, you'll see right here it says item and plane. We're just going to select here and name this, I'm going to name it main image. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to go File, Import again, Images as Planes, and then this time we're just going to select the hair. As long as you set up the options last time with, shadeless, check mark, use alpha, check mark, Z transparency, a check mark next to receive transparent shadows, and DPI, you should be good for it to come in. So with it selected, you're just going to go to import images as planes. Now you see this comes in just being named planed also, and it's already selected since we just brought it in. And this one we're just going to name it hair. And then we'll just hit the end menu to take keep the end menu open. Okay, with this menu still open, now what you're going to do is and with your mouse over this window, your Blender is dependent upon where your mouse is. So if your mouse is over here, your shortcut keys will change from when they're over here. So when we're switching around our views, you want your mouse over this viewpoint. All right, so with your mouse over here, what you're going to do is hit 1 on your number keyboard, and then with the main image selected, and you can select it right here. What you're going to do is you are going to hit you're going to go right to here in the scale. So the image is selected here. It's the main image. We can see it's orange, which lets us know it's selected. So now what you're going to do is you're going to go to X, and you're going to put in 50. Then you're going to select Y, and you're going to put in 50. And then what you're going to do is with your mouse over this main menu, you're going to hit R to rotate. You're going to hit X to rotate on the X axis. Then you're going to hit 90. Then you're going to left click to lock it in. Okay, what that did was just, obviously flip the picture up. To see the picture, what you're going to do now is you're going to go down to shading. Click this arrow just so it, gives you more options. You're going to go to multi-texture. You're going to select GLSL, and then you're going to select textured solid, and this will allow you to see your image. Okay, what you're going to do now is select the hair right here, and because it's orange, you can see that it's selected. You're going to do the same thing. You're going to go to scale X. You're going to put in 50. Then you're going to go to Y, put in 50. Then left click right here. And then with your mouse over here, you're going to hit, just like before, you're going to hit R to rotate, and you're going to hit X to rotate on the X axis, and then 90. And then left click to lock in. And that just brought our hair in and put it almost where it needs to be. Okay, now I'm going to hit the N to take away this menu, just give us more space. I'm just going to roll my mouse wheel in, and what I am going to do is I am actually going to hit Control, Alt, and then 0 on my number keypad, and this just makes the camera come into, the camera go right to the view that we're on. I'm actually going to hit N to bring this menu back. And just for a second, we're going to put a check in lock camera to view, and I'm just going to roll my mouse wheel back. This just allows me to position the camera in an easier way. So once I have it framed in the way I want the two images, I'm just going to uncheck this lock camera to view, and then we're going to hit N to take away that menu. Okay, what we're going to do now is I'm going to hold my middle mouse button, just turn to the side so I can get some 3D-ness now. And then I'm going to select the hair here. And the reason why I'm selecting things here instead of just selecting them out here, which you can do if you're new to Blender, it's just easier to grab them here since the images are so close to each other. So with the hair selected here, and you can see it's selected because it's orange, I'm going to take this manipulator and I'm just going to push the hair forward a little bit. And the reason why I turned this angle was so you can actually see that now the image is actually out. And it actually does a cool thing too, where it gives us some 3D-ness, for lack of a better word. Okay, now with that hair selected, what we're going to do is we are going to temporarily take the main image. We're going to select that right here. And then what we're going to do is the way you in Blender, it's interesting. Blender's a layer system, I guess I should say. In Photoshop and Gimp, you have layers on top of each other. In Blender, layers are kind of used to group, and layers are also kind of used to move things away, move things around, and just try to. Layers allow you to make things more organized and to sometimes make it easier for you to work. So what we're going to do is we are going to, what we're going to do is we're going to, with this selected, we're going to hit M on the keyboard. We're currently on this layer right now. We're going to select here. And basically what that did was that took that layer, the main image layer, and it put it on this layer here. If you look at these layers right here, here's this filled in layer is a layer that we're on. Now if I hold shift and select here, you can see both layers. But the reason why we did it just so we can deal with this hair more easily. So for now we're going to select here, and with this one selected, the main image is there, but we're here so you can't see it. Now what we're going to do is hit 1 on our number keypad again. We're also going to hit 5 to go into orthographic mode, and orthographic mode just means like it's as, while being in Blender, it's as flat as you can get something to 3D to look. So even though we're dealing with flat images, we are in 3D space, and orthographic mode just makes it look like things are totally in 2D, and it just makes it a lot of times easier to deal with. So and you can see that we're in front ortho right here. Also, this kind of would let you know which view you're in, whether you're in front view, side view, top view, or ortho, which is like just straight 2D, or perspective, which is kind of like a 3D view. But what we're going to do now is in Blender, wherever your cursor is at, is where a new object is going to come in. This thing right here, by the way, is the camera, if you're wondering what that is. And for now, if you go over here, we're just going to hit this I to get rid of the camera, and then we're going to select this arrow, and what that arrow will do is allow that camera to not be seen. The eye will let the camera be invisible. It's still there, just invisible, and then the arrow will will make it so that the camera is unselectable. I guess that's what we could have did instead of moving the other image. But anyway, what we're going to do now is wherever the 3D cursor is at is where a new object will come in. So what you're going to do is hit Shift A. You're then going to go down to armature, and you're going to go to single bone. And you can see the armature came in there. It's blocked slightly by the hair. So what you're going to do now is take your middle mouse button, select here, pull to the side a little bit, or you could, just pull out here if you're on a laptop. And with that armature selected, you're going to go here, or whoops, here. Your little, I think it's called, what is this button called? The puppeteer button, or your active armature button. But what you're going to do is you're going to select X-ray, and that'll just allow your armature to be seen through anything. So now with that armature selected, you're going to hit Tab to go into edit mode. You can also go into edit mode by selecting right here. You're going to select the middle of the armature. You're going to use the manipulator to pull this armature over just a little bit. Then what you're going to do is my armature is actually going to get in the way of where I want to grab. I'm just rolling my middle mouse button to zoom in. Now I'm holding shift and the middle mouse button just to drag down some. But anyway, when I try to click here, see how that manipulator is getting in the way? To deal with this, you can hit Control Space. That takes the manipulator out of the way. Anyway, you want to grab right here. With this selected right here, you're going to hit E to extrude on the Z axis. And you're going to take a bone straight up like this. Left click to lock in. With this still selected, you're going to hit E to extrude on the X axis. bring a bone out over just like that. I'm going to hit Control Space to bring my armature, my manipulator back for a second. I'm just pushing it down like there, and I'm going to hit Control Space to take away that manipulator again. I'm going to hit E to extrude on the Z axis. Then I'm going to hit Control Space to bring my manipulator back. And you can see how I control space. It's easy. You know, I have my pinky on the control, my thumb on the space. You'll tend to do that a lot. It's very useful, I find, in Blender to, you know, use the manipulator, and then if it gets in the way, just, you know, get used to hitting Control Space, take it out of the way. Anyway, you're going to go back to this point in the armature right here. You're now going to hit E to extrude on the X-axis, pull over here like this. I'm going to use the manipulator to push down just a little bit. I'm going to hit E to extrude on the Z-axis like this. Use the manipulator to pull over here, and yeah, I think I'll leave it right there. So now we have our basic armature that's going to do what I would call an auto animation for the hair setup now. Okay, now what we're going to do is I'm just going to hold my middle mouse button. I'm just going to turn to the side so I can see where the armature is at. So the armature is right behind the hair a little bit. And I'm just going to select this middle armature. Actually, I'm going to hit A to select the entire armature. Then I'm going to take the manipulator and I'm just going to, you know, push it up so it's right, you know, on that plane of the hair. And you can just hit 1 on your number keypad to go back into front view. Okay, now what we need to do is go back into object mode and select the hair. So we can do that through the tab button, or we can select right here, select object, and then if you look over here, you can see that we still are selected on armature. For now, I'm just going to select right here, and you can see we're selected on the hair. So we're in the object mode. In Blender, you have the object mode and edit mode. We're going to go into the edit mode of the hair. So I'm going to select here and go into edit mode. You can also do that with tab. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit W to bring up this special, W to bring up this specials menu. Then I'm going to select subdivide. And for this subdivision, once I select it, as long as I only click subdivide, all the way over to the left, you'll see this subdivide menu. And you can see the number of cuts here is 1. What you want to do is select this, click this all the way up to 10. And now with those subdivisions of 10, what we're going to do is this time I'm going to hit tab just to go back into object mode. I also could have clicked right here. Now with this hair selected, and you can see it's still selected there, I'm going to hold shift, and then I'm going to click the armature, and then I'm going to hit I don't know if I said it or not. You click the armature, you hold shift, and then while holding shift you select the armature, and you know, you can see they're both selected here. It's important very important the order that you do this in also. Matter of fact, I'll do it again just so you're not confused. So first the hair, right? You can see it's selected there, then hold shift, then select the armature. All right. Once you do that, you're going to hit Control P. This set parent to menu will pop up. Then you're going to go to with automatic weights. You're going to select this. Now basically what we did was we parented this hair by selecting it first and then selecting the armature. We parented the hair to the armature. Okay, we can see just from this, what we can do now is with the armature selected, with the armature selected, we can select here. Now we'll see pose modes. When we go into pose mode, if you select the bone and you hit R to rotate, you can see you can already kind of have the hair animating. You know, we can have it, you know, have some movement for the hair, but what we want to do is kind of an auto animation effect. Okay, those of you who have seen some of my tutorials before and heard me talking on them are probably familiar that my background in animation is I did a lot of animation in After Effects. In After Effects, there's something called expressions, and what these expressions do is they would allow you to, rather than like basically to animate this, the way we could animate it is we could sit there and we could turn on this auto key right here, and then we could rotate, move the timeline, you know, rotate, move the timeline, rotate, move the timeline, you know, and basically now when we hold right select and then go through this timeline, we can see the hair is animating. And you can do, you know, you could, that's something like you can actually stop this tutorial right here and just realize that with the armature in there, you can animate hair manually. However, very similar to After Effects wiggle effect or wiggle expression, is what I'm going to show you here in Blender. Basically, what I just did as far as those keyframes, like as I moved the timeline with this auto keyframe on, Blender automatically put keyframes in. I just hit Control Z to undo those keyframes. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that this auto keyframe button is turned off. So as long as it's light and not dark, you'll have it turned off, and you want it turned off to do what we're about to do. You also want your timeline in the beginning. I guess it actually doesn't matter so much where it's at, but what you're going to do is you're going to make sure this particular part of the armature is selected. It's also, if you're one of the things that confuses people in dealing with armatures, but confused me, was to animate an armature. Basically, you need to be in pose mode. So you make the armature in object mode, you parent the armature to a mesh, or like this plane that we have in object mode. You add and extrude parts of the armature in edit mode, but you animate the armature in pose mode. And that's what would if you're out there struggling, like what's going on, again, look right here, you can see we're in pose mode. Okay, anyway, with this armature selected, what you're going to do is hit I to insert a keyframe. This is how you manually insert keyframes in Blender for the armature. You just hit I. And what you're going to do is you're going to go to rotation. So you're going to select rotation. And with this auto kind of what I call auto animation effect, we're going to use that one keyframe. This technique is going to have Blender kind of auto animate the hair for us. Okay, what we need to do now is we're gonna see this little triangular shape right here. You're gonna take your mouse, you're gonna left click, select, and hold, and then you're gonna click and drag, and this is just gonna drag a new window out. Right, now what you're gonna do is you're gonna go right to here, you're gonna click, and you're going to go to Blender's graph editor. All right, this graph editor, here's the bone selected. Because we're on the point where we made that keyframe, right here is basically that armature. But this is like the armature that we see here is the bone 0.003 equals this bone right here. So if you click this arrow, you see these different options pop up, and these are just a different because we only put rotation, and these are just a different I guess you would say properties of the rotation frame that we made. So what we want to do is you're going to select here, and you're going to turn off the Z, turn off the Y by putting these locks on it, so the locks are going to keep us from messing with it, and turn off this lock right here, and you're going to select this right here. Okay, here's one of the beautiful things in video. I realized I made a mistake, so we actually don't want the X, so actually lock the X, go to the Z, select the Z, and hit the lock so the Z is unlocked. So we want the Z part of this rotation. Okay, and with the Z part of the rotation selected, now what we're going to do is we are going to hit N to bring up the specials menu, and then with this specials menu, we're going to go to modifiers, we're going to select add modifier, we're then going to select built-in function. Okay, and basically, I'm just going to click and drag so you can see this wave, that auto animates. Kind of what I'm telling you is basically what happened here. I'm going to shrink this down also so you can see. And I'm going to hold Shift and my middle mouse button just to pan, just so you can get a better view now. These waves are basically showing us what Blender did, and when I take my middle mouse, not my middle mouse, but my right mouse button, and I click and drag, you see that right there? So basically off that one frame, Blender sat there and added all those animations. Now obviously it's too strong, so now what we're going to do is we're going to adjust it. Okay, and the way we're going to adjust it, you see these settings right here is how we're going to adjust it. And I tell you what, Blender, there's so many cool things about it. Basically what we can do in Blender is this animation will carry all the way across, right? So if we hit play, we can see it, obviously going way too fast. What we can do is we can take this amplitude, and we can start to take the amplitude down, and we can see as it's actually animating what we're doing to this amplitude. And you see as I'm clicking and going down how it's slowing down. So then what we can do is, so now we see, okay, that's kind of like the motion I want, but it's too fast. So now what we do is we go to the phase modifier, and as we take this down, we should start to see it slowing down. And the cool thing is, because you can just play and let it go, you can get the exact speed you want. I mean, you don't have to click and wait and, just wait. You just let it play, get the hair, get the, kind of selection of hair that you want. So maybe I want it, probably just like that. And then even from here, we can sit there and we can have even more influence over this by clicking the use influence, and we can adjust this use influence, and just like everything else, we can see on the fly how this makes it a little bit more subtle as we bring it down, or we can bring it up, and the movement's a little bit stronger. So very cool, very easy to adjust the settings, and this is what I was talking about when I was saying kind of an auto animate hair effect. Okay, so now what we're going to do is I'm just going to hit pause here for a second. We're going to select this bone right here, and we're going to do a similar thing. So it really doesn't matter where it's at in the timeline. Usually it does, but for this these modifiers that we're adding in the graph editor, it really doesn't. So with your mouse over here, still in pose mode, you're going to hit I to insert a rotation keyframe. So we just put a rotation keyframe on this bone right here. Right, so I'm just clicking and dragging right on these edges of this corner just so you can see here. And here's a familiar menu just like we had before. You're going to select the arrow just to bring this down just like before. And last time I made a mistake, I selected X. This time we're just going to put locks on all of this, not a lock on the bone. The bone should be open. You're putting locks on W, X, Y. You're leaving Z open. So with Z selected, we're going to do just like we did before. You're going to select the add modifier. You're going to then, with the add modifier, you're then going to select built-in function, just like we did before. And then just like we did before, we have our options here, which we're going to use to adjust this. So we're going to hit play so we can see, and you can see it's going very crazy there. And then we're just going to click this down into it to get it a little bit under control. Then we're going to adjust, keep adjusting. We can look as we're adjusting to see, where it should be. And you're just going to click, to where you kind of want it to be. So now it's got kind of like the speed I want. But you see how it's like going way far out. So now what I'm going to do is go down to my influence. And then I am just going to take my influence and bring my influence down until where it looks like it's decent. And I kind of like that, how it's going. So now just with that, now we're going to do, I'm just going to hit pause for now. We're going to go back up to this menu now. And what we're actually going to do is you're going to click this little arrow right here and click and drag, and all this is doing is just getting rid of this window so you can see better. Okay, now what we're going to do is remember where I showed you the Blender's layer panel, so you can see the layers right here. If you look very close, you can see we're on this layer. Remember the main layer we separated. So now what we're going to do is we're just going to hold Shift. Since we're already on this layer, we're going to hold Shift, select this layer. And what this does is, because I held Shift, it's just showing us both the layers at the same time. So this main image is still on a separate layer, but because I held Shift, we can see both layers at the same time. And now we see when I hit play, there's the hair doing what I would call an auto animated effect. Okay, and as far as the bones, how you can see the bones, clearly, or the armature right there in her face, in front of her face. If you go right here, I'm holding my middle mouse button. I'm just dragging to the side. If I click on this is Blender's render button. If I go to this thing that says display image editor, and I select here and turn this to new window, then if I go up top here and I click, actually, let me turn the camera back on, and I'm going to hit 0 to go into camera view. If I hit render image, you can see there's the girl, yet she doesn't have the bones, so you don't have to worry about the the bones or the armature blocking out of her face. So what we will do now very quickly is I'm going to hold my middle mouse button, turn to the side just so I can see what's going on. I'm going to hit Shift A, and I'm not going to hit Shift A. I'm going to go to File, Import, Images as Planes yet again. I'm going to select here, and I'm going to go and grab an image, a background image. I'm going to hit images as planes. I'm going to hit R to rotate on the x-axis. Then I'm going to hit 90 on my keypad. Even though it's so small I can barely see it, I can see from right here I'm selected on the plane. Then I'm going to hit S to scale, and I'm just going to pull my mouse. S to scale, pull the mouse, S to scale, S to scale, and I'm just pulling, left clicking, and then I'm just going to grab this manipulator and push back. Now I'm going to go hit 0 on my number keypad to go into camera view. So now I can see the that city in the background there. Let me hit render image very quickly to see exactly. So this is how we'll see what's going on. Just hit X to get out of that. Okay, we're almost done. We'll just set up a little scene very quickly. So since we have the bones here, we're not going to move the bones. We're going to click on our main image, and what we're going to do is just back her up just a little bit so we have a little bit more, not too much, a little bit more 3D-ness with the hair. And we'll take the city, back that up a little bit more. Let me hit 0 on my number keypad, puts me in a camera view so I can see the city. And actually what I'm going to do is make the city even bigger. So I'm going to hit S to scale. And I'm going to hit 0 on the number keypad. Actually, with the city selected, the city is this plane right here, I'm going to hit G, which is allowing me to grab the city, even though I didn't see me selected. I had it selected on the over there. I'm going to hit Z, which is making me move the city just up. All right, so I'm putting the city, down, so she's framed, so she looks like she's, in somewhat of a reasonable place where she should be. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the middle mouse button. I am going to, the cursor is where things come into Blender. So now I'm going to hit Shift A. I'm going to go to empty, and then I'm going to select circle. Now what an empty is an empty is a non-renderable object. It's very useful for aiming a camera. So I'm bringing this empty in here, and it's just something that Blender won't render. So I'm going to hit circle to bring this empty in, and then the empty is right here, selected, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the camera. Oh, I couldn't select the camera because see this arrow, I didn't have it on. This arrow is allowing me not to select the camera, so I'm going to select here. So now I'm going to select the camera, hold shift, now I'm going to select the, whoops, I'm going to hit A to deselect, make sure I'm not selected on anything. I'm going to hit A again, I'm sorry, not A, don't hit A. Left clicking to select the camera, only the camera selected now, right, which is what I want. I'm going to hold shift, then I'm going to select the empty. Okay, so first the camera, hold shift, then the empty. Now what I'm going to do is hit shift T. What the heck? Empty, I have the camera. Hold shift. Oh, sorry, it's control T. I hit shift T. I was like, what the heck? It's control T. So now with control T, this make track pops up. Then you're going to hit track to constraint. What that does is that makes it so that this camera will always aim at this empty. So it's very useful for setting up a scene. So now what we're going to do is we're going to grab this little triangle again. I'm going to left click, click and drag. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to, with my mouse over this viewpoint, I'm going to hit 0 on my number keypad to go into camera view. Now I'm going to select the camera. And because this camera, we did that track constraint, the camera is always going to aim at the girl. Alright, so basically what we're going to do now is just position this camera so that the city is always in view. I'll zoom in here so we can see it. We want to make it so that it looks right as far as the girl. So we're going to just do a very quick animation. Actually, let me go back to the beginning here. So I clicked here, made this go all the way back to the beginning. I'm going to set up the camera to start right here. Just going to position the city and the camera so it looks right. Actually, I'm going to select the empty right here, take the manipulator and push the empty down to adjust the camera so that the girl was always on the bottom, and I need to adjust the city so that the city is enough in view, so it's always in view as far as the camera. Just pull this up, adjust it slightly. I'll adjust the camera so it's not that exaggerated. I'm going to select the empty, push it down some. I just want the girl at the bottom of the frame. Okay, and with the girl there selected like that, what I'm going to do is just roll my middle mouse button in and out. Select the camera again. I'm going to hit I, and I'm going to select this. This is up to hit I. I'm just inserting a keyframe. I'm going to select location, rotation, scale. That puts a keyframe there. Now I'm going to move the camera. You can see there's our auto hair kind of going there. And now I'm just going to take I'm going to take the camera, and we're running at 24 frames a second. This is what you see here is frames here. And what I'm going to do is just actually I'll do it. I'll make it 160. So what I'm going to do is hit select the camera. So first the camera is selected. I put the keyframe in. I move the timeline indicator. Now I'm going to take the camera. Let me zoom back so you can see the whole view. I'm going to take the camera and make it so that the camera, gives me some, 3D-ness, but stays, with the back image always in view. Alright, so now I'm going to hit I to insert a keyframe. I'm going to select rotate, location, rotation, scale. Now I'll take the timeline indicator, and now we can see it, the camera animating, the girl that, make sure that hair is not totally out of control as far as her face. Okay, so we have a little animation set up there. Right now, Blender is set up for frame 1 to 250. So what we're going to do is, since this camera's frame, the animation ends at 160, is I'm just going to select in here. I'm going to hit Control C. Select here where it says in. I'm going to hit Control V just to paste those numbers in. I'm going to left click so that locks in. Now what I'm going to do to render this out is I'm going to go to presets. I'm going to select here. I like to render out at 720p. I'm going to select here. So at 1280 by 720p. I'm screen capture recording at 25 frames a second. So I'm going to select that here. Blender's default export for renders is PNG. I'm going to choose this. Change that from PNG to H.264. I'm then going to go to encoding. I'm going to change this AVI to MPEG 4. And now I'm just going to I'm going to select right here so I know where this is rendering out to. And make sure I want it to select. Okay, here's the animated hair. So we're just going to make up a new folder. We'll put this animated hair output. I'll select here, so now I know exactly where the animation is going to. And then now that all that is done, I will just select here to animate. Select animation to animate it out. Okay, I want to show you guys something. Basically, I just rendered this video out. Obviously I tried to do it. I thought it would be a fast tutorial. I guess I really struggled with that. But anyway, when I rendered it out, it obviously the more time you put in, the better it'll look. And it wasn't, it was not bad. But one of the things I didn't like is, see this hair right here, the way I angled the camera. This piece of hair almost looks like she's got like some kind of like weird kind of beard or something coming out, and I don't like that, right? I don't like how the render happened. So I'm going to show you guys how Blender is set up, how it's pretty cool the way that Blender is set up to fix something like this. So basically we have the bone set up. If we tried to change the image like to a totally separate image, we would we would basically mess up our armature. But because Blender brings its images, the images are linked. What we can do is, remember, this is the thing I said, it caused me the problem. Look kind of like a beard almost in the first animation. What I can do is I can go back to my Gimp file. So here's my, my Gimp right here, right? I can go to this layer. Remember, we exported this layer out. So what I can do is I can take this layer here. I can take the eraser. So this is the problem. This is what was causing it to, in my opinion, look like some kind of weird beard or something. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm just going to go in here, right? So I erased it in Gimp right here. Erased that part that I didn't like. So now when you see Blender, you can see here's the image right there. That's the thing that was giving me a problem. So in Gimp, because I erased it here in Gimp, now what I'm going to do is go to File, Export, and I'm just going to go to hair, and I'm going to name this the exact same file. So it's hair PNG. I'm going to select here, and here you can see is it showed me the old image. So I'm going to overwrite this, and I took out this little piece here. So I hit export. Blender asked me, do you want to? Not Blender. Gimp asked me if I want to replace it. So I click yes. I want it replaced. I export it out, and now I move Gimp to the side. So now when I come back here to Gimp, what it should be, I'm going to hit File, save as B. So now I'm going to go save that file, and I'm going to open that file that I just saved. And now you can see that what Blender did was it got rid of that. Because I switched it here in Gimp, I saved where we were at in this file, and I reopened it. And because I reopened it, because it was a linked image, like that's how Blender deals with images, it links them. So when I changed the original file here, took out the problem piece, I had to save Blender, but then when I reopened the file and I just opened it right where we were at, now you can see that it's gone. So if you have an issue like that, you have an issue with your one of the images you brought in, you have all the work, you don't want to change it, you can do just what I did. So now I'm going to re-render this out again. So all my things are still set up. And what I'm going to do is, so I can have the original messed up one, or one I didn't like is here. I'm just going to select this, and I'm going to just put underscore B in there, hit accept. And now I'm going to go and re-render this out again, and you can see it doing its thing here yet again. Okay guys, that's it for the tutorial. Yeah, I would love to see what you guys can come up with using this technique. I could think of a couple different ways where this could be used, and I hope you learned something from this. For you guys that support this channel by liking these videos and resharing them, thank you. I appreciate it. And for you people who are new to this channel, if you like these videos and you would like to see more, then please subscribe, and thank you for viewing.